Okay, finally getting this thing working. Frickin' YouTube changed all my settings right before the live stream. So we'll see who's in here. It looks like I got two guys in here. Say hi, hello, how you doing? What you up to? Um, been doing lots of work. I've been really busy. Hard to make videos for you guys. I'd love to make more, but restrictions from work and time making it hard. Since Brian from Diesel and Irons not is on vacation today, I'm taking his spot. So I'm hoping everything works out all right this way. And I don't see anybody on. This is a bummer. All right, so say hello, say something. Can you guys see me? Hello. Anybody there? Yeah. Okay. GE 23 all. Okay. Uh, I'm an operator in the local three operating engineers. I've got, if you've got any questions for me, spit them out and talk a little bit, get things rolling a little bit here. Is this music too loud? I turn it down a little bit. It's a little loud on my end. Hey, Ryan, Garrett, nice to see you drop in. Not working. So I actually have a day off. And I talked to my superintendent yesterday, and he came out to the job I was on yesterday, and I was talking to him about I need time to smog cars and stuff like that. He says, "Well, don't expect any time off until till December. So 6 days a week till December. That's gonna suck." So how you guys doing? Everybody working hard? Hardly working? I've had a few questions this week that showed up on a previous video that was asking about the teeth on the outside of the buckets, why I had split teeth on the outside and points on the inside. So, and that was from a guy named Bill. And so the reason that we do that is we put the teeth with the tiger, what I call tiger teeth or pickle forks on the outside of the bucket. Those basically create a little more room on the outside of the bucket. So when you're digging in rock or anything like that, you're not wearing out the front edge or the sides of your bucket. That's basically uh, the explanation there. So it's not a whole lot. Ryan, I hear you on the day off. I could use one too. Being the only operator on the crew kind of sucks. Always running from one machine to the next. Yeah, I've done that before. Being even with as many operators, a crew I'm on right now, we had at the high point, we probably had 12 or 13 operators. We had seven excavators running, three loaders, and backfill guys running as well. Pretty large project we had going on. Just a real big push to try to get phase one of the project done, and then we're going to move on to phase two and slow it down a little bit. Go back to the core crew, which would be three excavators, one to two loaders, and then all the laborers working. So it's just big push time, especially with the economy being as um, fickle as it is right now. Everyone's kind of running scared, not too sure what's going to happen here in the next year or so. But if 2008, if things go the way 2007, 2008, the experience I had back then, I do have a feeling of similar circumstances where the housing market, the prices leveled off at first. Then the housing market basically stalled out a little bit, and we're starting to see the market go from a buyer or a seller's market to a buyer's market. That's your first sign. The next sign is when the buyers are getting so picky that they're not buying houses at the prices that are out there, and they decide to wait and hold off. So now the housing prices start coming down. When housing prices start coming down, the production and building of houses ceases. They'll start cutting off projects, future projects, contracts, or delaying them to a time to where they become profitable again. So if the general contractors or whatever, they don't see profit as they want, they will stall out a project and make you wait a couple of years till the market returns, and they need uh, they need to have, there's new houses built. Even in California, we are so far behind on housing that it's kind of holding the market where it's at. And we're gonna, like I said, we have 4 phases of housing going in right now. We just did the phase one was 285 homes, I believe. Phase two is another like 97 homes, and then we have a phase three, which I think is 43 homes, and then there's another phase four, which I don't know about yet. And then the same company just handed us a contract across the street. So we just picked up I don't know if it's residential or commercial. I think it's another residential, but it's fairly small. It's probably in their 40 or so homes. Ryan, yes. Yeah, I can't win with the climate. I need a house price. I need house prices to come down to afford a house, but when the housing market crashes, there's less work. Exactly. You can't win for losing, or you can't lose for winning either. Either way. So I've been lucky. I bought a house long time ago. Sausage. Hey, thanks for joining in. What exactly does qualifying on a machine mean? I'm in my apprenticeship now, second week. Okay, qualifying, that's an easy one. In the union, qualifying on a machine is nothing more than taking a written exam or a physical exam or a combination of both. The majority of the time, it's a physical. Basically, you get on the machine, they give you a task, and then they time you on that task and how well you do the task. If you complete it to their satisfaction, you are now authorized or given a certificate of qualification for that machine. That means if they basically have you run a roller, basically you run over to back some rocks, as long as you're not leaving a bunch of divots and lines and stopping and beating the hell out of one spot, it's an easy pass. Then what happens is now that goes into your permanent record, and you now have the ability to be dispatched in that thing. So if a contractor calls up or a business, a company calls up and says, "Hey, we need a roller hand," bam, you're on the list as a roller hand. If you're at the top of the list, or even if you're not at the top of the list, but there's no other roller hands at the top of the list, they come down and they see you qualified as a roller hand, bam, you're out on the job site. They'll call you out. So that's what we're looking for. So, and when I qualified, when I went through my apprenticeship program, yeah, no problem, Selfish. It's when I qualified, first thing I qualified on was a blade. Uh, Reason being is I had tons of experience out on farmland and stuff like that. I started running blade when I was 15 years old, so it was a easy pass for me. And when I told the instructors, I think I was a third step apprentice at the time. It was the first time I actually went out to the training program to take my 2 week training period. I skipped step one and step two because I was working so much, and my apprenticeship coordinator didn't think I needed the training time. And he just left me out in the field. But for step 3 and 4, they told me I had to go and take the test and take a class or whatnot. So I took the blade test. The instructor was like, "Don't you want to take something easier like loader or something like that?" Like, hell no, I want to take the blade. And I'm like, okay. So I took the blade test. I passed the blade test. I got certified on the blade first thing. Then the second thing I got qualified on was a backhoe. Then when I went out for my fourth step, I got qualified on the excavator, loader, and dozer. So those are the 5 things I qualified on, even though the first job I ever got dispatched to was on a scraper, which I hated. Um, and I can actually show you a picture of the scraper. Let me see. I'll see if I can pull up the background picture here. I know I've got it here somewhere. There you go. So over here, yeah, over here, these are the 31s. These are old 31s Charlies or C models. No cab, no air conditioning. You can see that it's missing the engine covers. So as you're driving around in these things, that wind is blowing right through the radiator, past the engine, and up into the cab on your legs and your body, and it just absolute miserable. So the truck over here, there it is. That's an '83 Toyota. That was my baby, one of them. I actually had an '81 that I rolled when I was 18, no, 16 years, just turned 17. I'd rolled one, same suspension here. I actually took the suspension and wheels and everything off my '81, put them on this truck. So that's a truck I drove until I was in my 20s, and bought a Dodge. All right, swatches. It seems that seems that a CDL is more desirable even when running a water pull. Water pulls. Yeah, it's a different breed. It's, I don't know. It's kind of it's a job that needs to be filled, but it just, you do what you need to do. They're not fun rigs to run. I mean, they're fun when you spray people with them, but usually they don't. It's not very good. Ryan, I bypassed the apprenticeship program. I took a role that Brian talks about on his channel and just completed that. So I'm currently in the process of getting fully signed into the union. Cool, man. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways of doing that. Um, Getting sponsorship from a company if you're a laborer and you wind up running a loader or something like that all the time when there's lack of operators, you can always just say, hey, it's about time you guys put me in the operators list before we get in trouble for me running the equipment all the time. And if you're lucky, they'll be able to do it. Right now, we have tons of guys that are trying to get into the union, from laborers into the union. And it's kind of hard because you have all these laborers. Some of them, you just look at them and you go, yeah, you just don't have the skill set, man. Sorry. And you just can't tell them that. Because you don't want them to quit and go to another company that'll promise them to put you in the union, and then grass is greener on the other side, and then they wind up just putting you on a shovel again. And then you're starting all over from the base level, and you're screwed. Now you can't come back to the company because you just burned a bridge. But yeah, Ryan, it's just jumping the gun going into a C list. That's another thing. If you go through the apprenticeship program, like Sausage is doing, Sausage, when you finish your apprenticeship program and journey out, you automatically, whatever district you're working in, will go onto an A list. So there's an A, B, and C list. As Ryan is talking about, he just straight in joining with a sponsorship, and what's going to happen is he'll go as a C list if he goes out of work and signs up on the out of work list. Aaron, Masai. Okay. Hello. Do you have any recommendations as far as getting picked up by an employer? I just got accepted into surveyor apprenticeship and been seeking employers. No luck yet. So is this a waiting game? In this work economy, they're hiring people left and right. It's the survey companies are a little more of a niche, and they have specific requirements, and they look for people with experience. If you start out, what you're going to start out as is a rod guy. You're just going to be pounding stakes, writing numbers on the stake, listening to the guy tell you what to do that's running whatever equipment is. And eventually you would move up into that position if you can convince the company you know what you're doing. And usually that guy that's testing you, having you write the numbers and all that stuff, will eventually recommend you to help out the company if they come up short on guys going out to jobs. It's just one of those things. I mean, sometimes big companies like the company I work for, we have GPS guys, and we have two guys that just run around jobs running GPS, collecting data off pipe that we've laid. And that's the big thing nowadays, is confirming what you've put into the ground is in the right location. So it's kind of like creating an as-built map for the developer after you're done. So you can say, here, you hand them your plots and say, this is where all the pipe is at. And some cities are actually doing that. The job I'm on currently right now, they have a GPS guy that comes out and GPSs the pipe, as well as our guy comes out and GPSs the pipe. But we can't bury a pipe until he GPSs everything. He paints it with a little line, then we can bury the pipe. Can't even put rock on it or anything. It's kind of a bummer, but they're really efficient with it, and he's coming out, 3, 4 times a day, making sure he's keeping up with all the pipeline that we're doing. Uh, Brian, I just met with a union rep, and there is not one person sitting in the union hall. They can't get anyone in the door. That has happened before. That back in the early 2000s, when we had the large explosion housing market, at least here in California, the halls emptied in 2000, 2001, and they were letting anyone and everyone that they wanted into the union. And currently, what's going on right now in California is we have a couple of huge underground companies that hired everyone off the list and handpicked all the best guys, and then fired like 150, 300 guys, sent them all back to the hall, which I think just sucks. But that's what companies can do. They do that, and they do it for, they work everyone for a while, figure out who's good, who's not. And when a job ends, they just don't call them back for the next project. And that's kind of the sucky part about being in the union and whatnot. So that does happen. But getting into the union right now as a laborer is a little harder than anything. Oh. Hey, babe. Babe, close my door. Kathy. What? Close my door. I'm on a live stream. No, I wet vacked it. Ugh. Close the door. Okay, yeah, I was prepared. I forgot to shut my door. I am not as lucky as Brian at Diesel and Iron. I do not have I don't know what to call it, a dungeon that he has that lets him get away from everything. So I have a smaller house, 3 bedrooms, and I got the laundry room right next to me. I'm lucky that I've got a door on that to close that. Oh, that's good. All right, where are we? What was I talking about? Okay. Williams, would you recommend getting experience prior to getting back in a apprenticeship program? I feel I'm always behind guys that have had years in before their first year. Depends on how old you are. And to me, getting into the union, if you can get into the union, get into the union. The sooner you get in, don't worry about your experience. You just go to your employer, whoever hires you, you tell them where you're at. Be honest. Honesty goes a long way with employers. If you're not honest with them and tell them you can do all the things that you think you can do, and then you get on the machine, and then I can guarantee it's one of my jobs is evaluating new people coming into the program or coming into the company, and making sure that they can do what they say they can do. Usually I'm like the second guy that calls. The foreman usually says, hey, we got to evaluate this guy. It doesn't seem like he knows what he's said he knows. So I'll go out, or the superintendent goes out and they evaluate him, and they say, yeah, okay, he's not as good as he said he was. But always be honest with your employers, and that'll go a long way for you. Kaylee, go to a non-union internship with a survey company. That's not bad advice. The problem with that in California, that's all union. Anything that's related to construction is basically union. There are a few non-union companies out there, and that is a way of getting experience. But it is a waiting game, especially when you get into the niche areas of construction. It's a matter of waiting and working your way up. And it's always been that way for everything, even running heavy equipment. If you want to be an underground, you're going to start at the bottom. I got hired on to run I think my first job doing underground, I got hired to run a loader. I went out to the job, said hi to the foreman. He told me, go over to that pile of dirt and I want you to sit there. They just needed an apprentice hours. So they didn't even need me to run equipment. They just told me to go sit down. I sat there for a little bit and I got annoyed. I got up and says, "Hey, do you need someone to help with grade setting or anything like that?" And I went over and he said, "Okay, let's see what you got on the grade setting." I went over and I ran stakes and set up a laser and all that stuff. And he goes, "All right, I see you know what you're doing. We'll." Then they put me on setting and checking grade for the mainline digger, and that's where I started. And then they threw me on the loader and sent the other guy off because I was cheaper to be there. Yeah, I had to be there. They needed the hours, but when they found out I was cheaper and actually knew what I was doing, they sent the journeyman off and kept me on the project. And that's how I got started with that with underground. And that stuff sucks, but it happens. Let me see. No, sorry, I live in Sacramento area and went door to door and dropped my resume around this Roseville, Sacramento area. I am not yet part of the union because I haven't been picked up by a company yet. Uh, have you been to the local three office? Have you been in there to put in an application for the local three at all? That's a question for you. And if you haven't even done that, then because they have a test you need to take to give a intelligence, it's basically an intelligence general knowledge kind of thing for construction. They want to see where you're at. If you place real high on that test, there's a high likelihood that you'll get pulled into the union. And it's harder to get a job running equipment if you're not in the union, because then they're going to look at you. Okay, now you got to come in, we got to put you to work doing something that not equipment related before we can they'll evaluate you and then maybe put you into a lineup of people that want to join the union. Because we have, I mean, on every crew I've been on, there's at least two laborers that want to be operators. They because in local three we have an amazing pay scale, retirement, and all that compared to laborers. So they everyone carpenters, iron workers. I don't know, maybe not iron workers, but everyone that I meet, they go, "Oh yeah, I tried getting in the union and whatnot." But it's just it's if you get into the local three, you're set. Just keep doing your job. Just show up every day, do whatever you're asked to do, and you'll move up eventually. And trust me, I've got guys behind me that are like, "When are you going to retire? I want your seat." Because they want to do what I do. Uh, okay, sorry. Where are you located? If that's towards me, I am located in the Sacramento County, so I'm a District 80 guy myself. As I mean, you can go to my company and put in an application with them, but their main office is in the Bay Area. We also have an office in West Sacramento. It's Preston Pipelines. So you can check them out. We're always looking for new people. It wouldn't hurt to go over there and put in an application. You can look them up you can Google search them, Preston Pipelines. All right. So where are we at? Sorry, I live in Yuba City. I went through the signatory contractors and dropped my resume. Yeah. Um, okay. I mean, there's not a whole lot more I can help you with at that point. I mean, you just have to keep bugging I would go to the union hall on a regular basis and just kind of bug them and, get some phone numbers of people other than the people behind the desk. See if you can find a BA that'll be able to help you out, or, ask questions specific to how do I enter? How can I push this forward? What's the fastest way to get in? And the more that you push on some of these people, the more likely they are to refer you to someone that'll help you move forward. Ryan, yep, honesty goes a long way. We had a guy come in that claimed 9 years of experience, but he was super jerky on everything, and it just couldn't follow basic directions, even after a couple of incidents. Yeah, when you talk about jerky, there are guys that even Brian describes them. They're lever pullers. There's a guy you just get on. They get on the machine. They grab a hold of the controls with two hands, like like death grips, and they just yeah, 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 yeah. And those are the guys that destroy machines. Those are not the guys you want. You want the guys that are up there, have a nice light touch on the controls, and are smooth. That's what companies look for, because you're going to be a smooth operator is going to move material faster than a guy that's just hammering the controls around and looking like he's moving fast. Uh, where are we at? Okay, a couple of incidents. I don't want to know what the incidences are. I can imagine what they were. He still was claiming he was comfortable running everything. I mean, when I started out as an apprentice, I told him I can run anything you put me on. It may not be the way you want me to run it, but I can run it. And I managed. I got lucky. I was blessed with a gift of control. So I have sensitive hands. I can feel the pressures in the machine. There's a lot of feedback you get from equipment if you feel it through your butt, your back, and just the way things, if you listen to the machine as well, you can hear the hydraulic oil running through the lines if you listen carefully. If you pay attention to the machine, it'll tell you everything you need to know what's going on with it. All right. All right, Actman. I just got a new guy last week. He lied and said he could do it all, but can't even use a shovel. I asked my boss, where do you get these people? That reminds me of all these TikToks I see. It says the Mexican guy calls the boss and says, hey, boss, how much do you pay this guy? $20? Yeah, that's too much. That's too much. He's no good. Oh, all right, where we are. Sorry. Yes, I have been accepted into the local 3 technical engineers and went through the exam and did the interview. I got accepted into the program and finished a boot camp week as well for local 3. Okay, are you on an out of work list? That's my question. If you've joined the local 3, you have access to an out of work list. You can put your name on the list, and they will be able to dispatch you to a company that will put you to work. As far as searching for work, we have a 5-year and 10-year letters. At the first 5 years in the union, you're actually not supposed to look for your own work, which sucks. But if you can get through the 5 years, you become vested. You're qualified for retirement at that point, to collect retirement when you meet the magic 85. And at the 5-year letter, what you get is you're allowed to go and hustle work for anyone you worked for in the previous 5 years. Once you hit 10 years or tenure, once you hit 10 years and get a 10-year letter, you are allowed to look for work at anywhere you want, out of district, in district. If you want to get a job, you can go hustle all the work you want. But usually at 10 years, you're in a position. If you've been with one company, you've already moved up a ladder within 10 years. Hopefully you've done that. Okay. Sorry. What was my question? What my question is, it has been 3 weeks and I haven't been dispatched yet. So I was wondering, how long does it usually take to get dispatched? Okay, that's a good question. Call the union hall, call the dispatch office, get a hold of them and ask them where you are on the list. If you're like 10 on the list, 5 or 10 on the list, that means those 9 people in front of you have to be dispatched before you get dispatched. So it kind of gives you a little idea. Sometimes some companies will call in and say, hey, I need 5 operators. Bam, you just moved up to number 5. So it's just depends on what's going on in the hiring procedure. We're in the middle of the work season, height of work season. I haven't called the union hall to find out what kind of situation our list is in. Last time I checked, like I said, about 3 months ago, we had some major companies that just offloaded a bunch of people onto the list. So 3 weeks it's not that long dealing with the union, but bug the union hall. If you call dispatch office and bug them, That's more than likely just so you stop bugging them, they will dispatch you because you're becoming annoying. Or you may get the butthead that will just ignore you and put you further down the list. So don't be so annoying they're gonna bump you down, but be annoying enough saying, "Hey, I want to work. Hey, I want to work." Because there's a lot of guys out there that are claiming COVID and all these other things just to collect COVID money, which isn't available anymore. But a while ago it was. All right, where are we at? Dala. Okay, yeah, the operators and at Granite are really old. 63, 61, 59. They crew out the apprentice grade setter all day long, or chew out the apprentice grade setter all day long. Yeah, that's pretty typical. It's hard to find um, good uh, good grade setters. When you get a hold of a guy that can do math, you deal with all his shortcomings because his numbers are right. And then from there, the butt chewings are teaching. It's what the old guys how we all learned was getting a ass chewing. So we ass chew you and pass on the experience of coming up. And it's what we call it's earning the right. You're paying your dues, and that's part of it. Is paying your dues is getting chewed out and learning. If you're not learning, then that's a problem. So as long as you make a mistake once and learn from it, you're doing good and you're moving forward. You're progressing. So that's the big thing. Is I'll always want to progress and try not to make the same mistake twice. But yeah, I got my butt chewed constantly when I was an apprentice. Ackman, Death Grip LO, yeah. Got a man that looks like he's gonna flip. Yeah, it's we had a guy that I worked with a guy that had that death grip on the controls, and he one day spun the control. He actually had a grip on it so hard and was pulling so hard, the grip actually rotated. So normally they're like this, and his grip had turned over and was like this. I was like, how do you even do that to a machine? I mean, I don't understand. I've seen guys bend the control levers in the front of the machine for the tracking because they grab a hold of them when they're getting unstable and then they're not wearing their seatbelt and get thrown, and then they push the lever, which makes them even worse. But the weight, they usually bend those bars up. Rip the joystick off. Yes, yes, that happens too. Some of the older machines, they had these two half piece controls that sandwich together with a couple of screws, and I've seen guys just snap those. The old plastic, it gets old and brittle, and they break those, and then you're calling the shop, "Hey, I need a new control out here. This freaking guy just ripped the control off." Local 406 tower crane operator. Welcome in, Sean. Thank you for coming in. Thanks for hanging out. If you got any questions, statements, shoot them my way. Tower crane operator. Yeah, it's how are those tower cranes? What kind of scale are you guys making? I know what our guys make here in Local 3, which is about just barely a little more than what I make, which is in the high 50s to low 60s. So I'm interested to hear, where is Local 406 at? So where are you operating out of? Or if you're a good tower crane operator, you're probably traveling all over the place. Ryan, have you been able to make any headway with your company for making videos? The situation we have right now, the man that I'm dealing with is like fourth on the ladder of the company, and I don't want to give away. I can't give away anything because nothing's written in stone yet. But I have approval to make videos, but I have limitations. I have to check with the job site contractor to make sure that there's no do not reveal or DNRs on the job site to prevent me from making videos. And I'll usually go to their superintendent or whatever. And I say, hey, as long as I make video for just me and what I'm doing and no other contractors, that means now I have to make sure I blur out any other contractor that's in the video. And for my own company, they don't want me putting any of the company logos in the videos too. And I think in the last video I posted, I kind of explained a little bit about it. Is every guy has a hard hat, company hard hat with a logo right in the center of it, and a company vest with a logo on the back of it. So no matter which way they're facing, I'm blurring something out. And if in a 30-minute video like I make longer instructional videos. Those are, I mean, that's 3 to 4 hours of tracing a logo, following a blur mark over a logo, just for one logo. And then if I'm doing it on multiples, yeah, I'm looking at 6 to 8 hours just in trying to blur out a logo. So it's I'm trying to find and come up with ideas of how to make videos. And one of the ideas and one of the things I asked for you guys is, if you guys want, you guys can make your own video of your own work and link it to me. You can either do it through this channel or you can do it through my Instagram. You can send me a private message on Instagram, give me a DM, and send me the link to the video, and I'll review the video and make a video out of it, give you my thoughts or whatever. And that'll be a way that I can make videos that I don't have to blur a whole bunch of garbage out. But just remember, when you take a video, if you're going to use your phone, take the video this way, not this way. It helps. Okay. So, anyways, Ryan, on that front, anyways, I do have a secret that I have to hold on to until I get the final word on what's happening with me. The hint would be I'm going to be leaving the seat. That's the only hint that I can give you on my future. So people below me are excited about it, and the company's excited about it. I'm excited about it and nervous as hell about it. So that's the most I can give you at what's going on. Thank you for answering my questions. Hope to meet you on the field someday. Go local 3. Stay blessed. You too, bud. I wish the best for you. I know sometimes getting started out is a rough thing. Williams, I was thinking of relocating. Do I have to be a resident first before I apply? No. You can apply at any time for anything. Whether or not you're accepted is another thing. So I would suggest go ahead, put your application in, and if you're transferring from another union, they can transfer your book straight across and you go right on the list. And they can put you to work. If you actually are transferring to this area or to another union area, all you're doing is transferring your book. And what they'll do is, if you've got a company with a job lined up, you just get in, they put you in the union, you go right to work. No big deal. No drilling, no diesel. Yeah, I hear you, Benny. It's a lot of what's going on in the God, political arena. I try to avoid politics as best I can because they do drive me insane. I am a constitutionalist. I believe in the rights of everybody to do whatever the hell they want, as long as they don't impact me. As long as no one is telling me how to live my life, I'm not going to tell anyone how to live their lives. And that's how I see it. As for a company, from a company point of view, they set their own standards. Every company does, and that's the right of the company. The company is not a government entity, and they can set their own rules. And part of freedom is, if you don't want to follow those rules, you don't have to. You can go work for someone else. But if you want to work for that company, you need to follow their rules. As for the no drilling and no oil, this is the Democrats' thing. Is unfortunately, all the unions, especially here in California, they push Democrat really, really hard. And several years ago, I blindly, a long time ago, I blindly followed the union's recommendation for voting, and a lot of people do that. And when I woke up and kind of started looking at voting history and how they would treat businesses. My brother started a business 10 years ago and it failed eventually. Eventually, it failed due to overtaxation. He was a small business. He had like 4 or 5 employees. He couldn't afford the taxes that were placed on him. He had to shut down his business because of taxes, not because he didn't have enough business. It's because he couldn't afford the taxes. So California is not a business friendly place, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Okay. Love the videos. So this is Steven. Love the videos. Operator for small company out of New Hampshire. Uh, Sewer and water mains and services, non-union. Can you apply for union out of state? That one I'm not sure of. But again, I believe what I said earlier still applies. You can apply to do anything you want. It's whether or not you get it, they will accept you or not. So the best thing to do is put in an application, apply to wherever you want to go out of state, and just say, "Hey, can I come work in your state?" Which they might, if they don't have people like in Ryan's area, Garrett, if they are completely out of people to work, they are probably going to love you. Say, yes, come on up. And you might even find a company that'll rent you a place to stay if it's a big enough company, just because they're hurting so bad for people. So to me, give it a try. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no. I mean, come on, we're guys. We get rejected over this stuff all the time. We get rejected from women constantly. So just another drop in the bucket. Stephen B. Or do you have to live in the district? So the way districts are, so living in a district, basically, if you live in an area, that's the district you're assigned to. I live in the District 80 area, so District 80 is my primary, and that's what you want to be in, because when you get on the out of work list, if you're whatever district you're in, you're gonna go to the top of the list in that district, and then people that are from out of district area, say you go to sign up with all the different districts, District 20, District 30, whatever district, you sign up on all of them. You will be below all the people that live in that district that are normal to that district. So once they get all dispatched, then they go to the people out of district. Okay, we got Cats Construction. What part of Cali are you in? I am in Central California. Ryan seems to think I live in LA. I don't know why, but he does. It's probably because he made a trip down to Hollywood for um, a possible job or whatever down there, and just assumed that's where I was at. Okay. All right, Ackman, have you ever done any directional drilling? Just curious. That's what I operate every day. I worked for a company called Drill Tech Drilling and Shoring. They primarily did vertical drilling and shoring, putting I beams in the ground. But as in directional bore, yes, I have worked with a company that did it. So I have a little bit of experience just secondhand watching them work. It was a what was it, ditch witch machine doing a sideways bore. They shot a 4-inch bore down about 500 feet at a time is what we were doing. We would do uh, secured or locked in pipe with a like a zip tie that goes on the inside that locks the pipe together, and then they would ream out that 4-inch hole to an 18-inch hole and then pull in the 12-inch pipe, and then that was it. And then we would do tie-ins at every 500 feet, and that was a cool job because that was up in Lake Tahoe area. Really cool area. We were out in some wilderness areas, and it was a lot of fun. We had bears walking by, we had coyotes everywhere, all kinds of wildlife. So that was a lot of fun, and it was a good learning experience. So, and the guys that were doing the directional bores were really cool. All right, Josh. Just started as a laborer with an excavating company. Any advice on how to move up quick? Do your job. Be good at your job. Learn every aspect of your job, and don't make waves. I mean, and that's the biggest thing. Don't be on your phone. Don't be on your cell phone constantly checking messages, talking to your wife or talking to your girlfriends or whatever it is. If you're on the phone less than the guy standing next to you, you're going to be the good guy. And as long as you push yourself, push your abilities to do the best work you can, you will have a job. You will keep your job. They will move you up. Go to your foreman, ask them, "Hey, I want to learn this." If you see what's going on out in front of you, they'll usually, if you're with a pipe company, the new guy comes in. He's the guy we're going to sit out front and just have him shoveling rock all day long. Eventually, he says, "Hey, we see he's working hard and doing his job well, maintaining a good grade." Then we go, okay, we bump them back and then say, "Hey, help, maybe we need you to help out with bolting up a water line or laying some pipe or something to stand in for a guy that's got to go run to the blue room." So then you fill in a gap. And eventually they go, "Oh, okay," and you learn a little more there. And then eventually they go, "Okay, we're shorthanded. Now we need you permanently as a soaper, soaping the pipe and stabbing the pipe." Then you can move up to pipe layer and whatnot. And it just takes time. Remember, moving your way up, you have to wait for someone to get fired or you have to wait for somebody to retire. Those are the two ways you move up. Being good also helps. Sometimes you will jump over somebody that is working less than you're working. So if you work harder than the next guy, you're going to be the guy they keep. Ah, directional bore, where are we at? Ryan, we have one foreman that is previous employer flew him from halfway across the country to have him come out and work for them because he was looking at moving out here. Yeah. So I mean, there's a good example there for you who was asking that. But yeah, I mean, companies. I've got a company right now. I have friends across the country that I have standing offers. I can go to anywhere in the Northeast, Midwest, and I can be working tomorrow. They will find me a house. They will help me sell this house just to get me out there. And most of it is due to the YouTube channel. They've seen what I can do, and some of the guys I was already knew online through some construction websites and stuff like that. So making friends around, even on just construction sites, threads, forums, will help you make connections to say, "Hey, this is the stuff I've been doing and I'm looking to move to here. Is anybody in that area?" I actually got a guy a job that moved up from the LA area or the local 12, and he moved up here to the local 3 area, transferred his book, and a friend that I went to school with, a girlfriend, not a girlfriend, but a girl, and she just posted, out into the ether, "Hey, I've got a friend looking for a job and he's local 3." I sent him the company phone numbers and said, "Hey, just tell him I sent you in." He called into the office. He went to work in less than 2 weeks. They put him out on a job site, and he did all right. And he worked with us for several years. Sean, local 406 is Louisiana. Oh, I was born in Shreveport, buddy. So I didn't live there long, but I that's where I was born. Uh, fellow shrimp lover. Our scale isn't as good as Cali's scale. I make mid 40s, dude. If you're making the 40s in Louisiana, you're killing it. California, I mean, our price, the cost to live here is insane. Housing, just low grade housing starts at like $500,000 to $600,000. Mid grade homes at like 1,800 square feet are going for $800,000. It's insane. I don't know how anyone. We have a laborer right now that we just hired, hard worker. His house payment is $3,000 a month, and he's working 2 to 3 construction jobs. He works with us for 10 hours, And then after that, he goes and does roofing across the street for another company for the rest of the day. And then he does that all as well on Saturdays and Sundays. He works 7 days a week trying to make that $3,000 house payment. It's insane. Uh, Luis Castellanos, is there lots of work right now for operators? Yes. And right now, especially right now, there's tons of road work going on because of the gas tax that happened. We had that explosion of construction that happened. We have tons of homes still being built. So there's a lot of construction still going on with housing and road construction. The road construction is not going to stop because of the gas tax. As long as people are driving gas vehicles, you've got taxes going into road work. Um, Housing market, as long as we have a deficit in housing versus population, there's a need for building houses. Not to mention that in California, they want to dump a buttload of money into housing for the homeless. Let's They're going to give homeless people, houses that cost over $300,000 for free. Just because they don't have a place to live, they're going to give them a house. They've already done this in Seattle, Washington. They have multiple apartment complexes that they've built, and each uh, flat, I guess you would call it, is worth about $300,000 in downtown Seattle, which most of the people like us could not afford. It's insane. So I don't know how they think that's going to solve the homeless problem other than just getting them off the street. I mean, all I see that's going to happen is they're going to move homeless people from making a mess on the street to making a mess in this super nice brand new house. And then it'll wind up getting condemned because now they've done destroyed the place. Mm. Harley rake. Harley rake. What are we talking about, Ryan? All right, Ryan. I think. Sorry, guys. I think I made a decent first impression when I started at the company I'm working for because my fourth week working for them, they sent me to a site completely by myself to Harley the whole site. Harley rate. Got it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, what were you doing? You just. I'm not familiar with a Harley rake. I'm not familiar with that. Are you just stripping off the overburden, all the grass and whatnot? But that's good, man. That's good. If they're sending you places by yourself for to run a machine and taking care of business, and you're taking care of it, dude, you've already moved into that circle of trust. That's awesome. So it's only the only place you can go now is up. Aquaman. What we I was looking at homes in California compared to the houses I have here in New York. Yikes, it's double. Yeah. I California is just complete insanity. The I got lucky. I've been married. I'm going on 24 years married. I bought my house when I was 25. And so I've been in this house a long time. And so I bought the house at 139. And my house is worth, I think, around in the 500s now, which is insane to me. I don't think this house is worth 500 grand, but a lot of other people do. Where are we at? Castellanos. I'm on the local 3 waiting list for the apprenticeship for heavy equipment operator. Any recommendations to help speed up the process, Lewis? That is a hard one to do because the operating engineers, the local 3 apprenticeship program, they only hold so many classes a year, and they limit the class size. So they have a list, and you've taken the test to get on that list. Wherever you landed on that list with that test score is where you're at on that list. So until all the people above you with higher test scores are gone, and mind you, there are other people taking tests. If they're scoring higher than you, they're going to get put above you to get into that apprenticeship program. So you can, like I've said before, bug them, call in, see where you're at on that list, see what's going to happen. And sometimes just showing that you're eager and wanting to join the apprenticeship program will show them, say, hey, this guy really wants to get in. He's calling me all the time. Don't make a nuisance of yourself. Just call enough to keep your name in their ear, like a little earwig, and maybe that'll get you a little push. That's the best advice I can give you, man. It's getting into the union's the hardest part. Let me see, Ekman. Harley rake attachment to the basically reconditioned topsoil. We got one for our tractor. We have for restorations. Oh, okay. I kind of know what you're going at there. It's almost like a tiller or whatever. So that sounds like a boring job, but a job nonetheless. Okay, Ryan. No, it a steel drum with a small carbide point on it that attaches to the skid steer. I was sent there to level out and loosen some of the topsoil we spread earlier in the year. That was mud, so it dried solid. Okay, so you're just leveling the terrain that you had dumped it before. That's cool. Oh, Gamerhawk. Yeah. So I was talking about people I know. Gamerhawk here, any Gamerhawk, he's one of the guys that I know. He's a safety guy. Um, so yeah, he's one of the guys that says he's dying to get. He wants me to go up and work with him. Let me see. There used to be a hands-on equipment school in Stockton near the airport. Are familiar with it? Is it still there? I have no idea, man. I didn't even know there was one there. I know there are some schools. There are uh, if you have to pay to go to a school, they're not doing you. I mean, yeah, they'll give you some experience, but they're not giving you the education you really need. You need on the job training to see what the real world is like. Because these schools that you go to that they're charging you to learn, it's you don't want to do that. If you want to get on equipment and do something, and if you're waiting to get on an outer work list or you're waiting to join the union, you should at least be trying to get into the laborers union and get onto a project that does what get with a company that does what you want to do. An underground company, run a shovel, get that experience of what happens on the ground, because that experience on the ground is going to move forward into the equipment. Because now that you're up on a piece of machine looking down at the guys working, you know what they're doing, you know what they're supposed to be doing. Now you can tell them, hey, you're supposed to be doing this and not that, or this is an easier way to do what you're doing. And it makes you a better operator once you learn how to run the machine, because now you know how much rock to dump on them, how much you've seen the other end of that bucket shaking rock on top of you, and know what happens when it all breaks loose and just buries the pipe. And now the guy on the ground has to shovel 5 yards of rock to the next section. And trust me, that stuff sucks. I went through it myself. I've been on the end of a shovel when I first started. So I've been there, done that. All right, Ryan, it was an attachment they bought this year, and so far I've been sent to several sites just to run it. To my knowledge, I'm the only one to have used it in the company. Dude, I mean, we have a trencher in the company, Vermeer 600T and trencher, and there's only 2 or 3 guys in the company that run it. One of them retired, and he handed me his keys to the machine. I have personal keys to the trencher. So usually when the trencher goes out to a job, I'm the guy that they send with it. So I know where you go. So you're getting keyholed into a machine, and you're going to become an expert on that machine, and they're going to send you out with that machine. And eventually what'll happen is you'll be too busy to go on the machine, and they'll want you to teach a new guy how to run that machine, and or recommend a guy to run that machine when you can't run it. And that's an excellent position to be in. It's far from a fun job, but I can make the topsoil look way better and make the finished product a lot nicer than the owners are seeing everything I'm doing on their final walkthroughs. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, doing your walk, do making things looking pretty. That's one of my key things. Is I mean, this is kind of a off thing to say, but if you're working on a project that is not quite going the way you want it to go, if you can make the job look pretty, it's easier to sell the project. And I have gotten jobs just because I can make things look pretty. And I've been I get put in positions like I'm digging main line and whatnot, and then our backfill crew comes through and it looks like a grenade, a bunch of guys threw grenades into the backfill, and it's just not flat. And then we've got, our surveyors coming back in, putting our grade stakes in for the next pipeline. And when I go through and the road's not flat to dig on, now I'm spending time spinning around, throwing dirt, trying to level the ground. So what they'll do is I'll spend an extra day behind the pipe crew or behind the backfill crew, leveling everything out and then running the compactor over it, and then they'll stake it just to make things nice. And to me, making pretty is better. I like if it looks pretty, it's gonna be easier to sell and makes everyone happy just by looking at it. So, Lewis, I currently work for Tykert. Ew, Tykert. Uh, they're our nemesis. Um, they were gonna sponsor me for demo with the cement masons, then switched over to underground and lost the offer. Kind of regret switching. It happens, man. Yeah, I mean, I was with a company, FCI. They build bridges around the world, and they're a huge company. And when I joined them, I was just out of the apprenticeship program, and this was in 1999. I got hired out of the union hall as a dispatched operator to dig main line, and this is probably only the second time I had ever dug main line. So rookie kid comes out, I can dig, you know. They put me on the machine, and first thing to do is they tell me is that we've already hired and fired three other guys out of union hall, and the last guy couldn't dig more than 92 feet a day. And this was up in some rocky ground. And as you can see, there's a lot of rock. If you watch my videos, there's a lot of rock here that we work around. And so I got up there. My first day I did 102 feet. And they said, okay, we'll let you come back another day and give you another chance. The next day I came back, they had a section of pipe for storm drain laid out. I dug all of it by lunch, 235 feet by lunch. I ran out of stakes, and I went to the foreman and said, hey, you got any more stakes or somewhere else I can start digging? Because I got no more stakes. And he says, dude, that was like supposed to last you like 2 days. I says, well, you better call the stakers to get me a lot more stakes. And from that point on, it was like they couldn't believe how fast I was digging. They basically, I called whatever I needed. If I needed new teeth for the bucket, they gave them to me because I was making way over production. The job was actually bid at 132 feet a day, and I think at my height I was getting 300 feet a day, and I was putting new teeth on the bucket every other day, and that's how fast we were wearing out our teeth. Hawk. If anyone is up in the Nebraska area, holler at me. We need operators. Here we go, guys. We got a guy looking for work, looking for operators here. So if you're looking for a job, hit up Gamerhawk here, and he'll hook you up, man. We have a lot of work in the Omaha and Lincoln area. Like I said, guys, you just got to know the right people. So bringing people together here, at the Lever Monkey. Ryan, that's one thing I've always tried to do is keep my work area tidy. Not only the machine, but also the materials around me makes everything look nicer, and it's a lot easier to be efficient. Yes, See, that's dead on, Ryan. You keep that attitude and keep that work ethic, and you will go far. You'll go real far in heavy equipment because you are being noticed. I can guarantee you that right now. You are being noticed for your work. So you just keep doing what you're doing and keep moving forward. Oh, all right, guys. It's been an hour. The comments have slowed down a little bit. So unless you guys want to shoot me another comment here real quick, Josh on top of it. Do you have much experience running a vac truck? No, that is more of a specialized deal. We actually have in California companies that specialize in vac and what we call wet wet material removal. So I have been around it a lot because we have two vac trucks that the company owns, and they have special people that run them. So they come out, they pothole all our lines now. We no longer do mechanical potholing, which means using a machine with a hard bucket or something like that to locate utilities, existing utilities. And so the vac trucks are perfect for that. They come in, they vacuum out all the material. They use a spray wand to break up the ground and just vacuum it out, locate everything. GPS guy comes out, GPSs that pipe, and then they rebury that hole with sand or whatever is required, compact it in, and then move on to the next one. And this is all done prior to us even starting the job. Once we get the contract, then we go out and do all the potholing and then move forward with the dig excavation. All right, Ryan, I'm going to do the same thing with the Harley rake. They had a section of road ditch that they were hoping to finish in one day, and I did it in 5 hours. And then I was just given 2 days to finish a site. Yeah, man. I mean, if you're banging out work like that, I mean, they're going to start. So when you're efficient like that, the company is going to love you because now they are going to keep you on that machine because you're so efficient at it. And now the company can bid more aggressively and get more work and underbid other companies. So that means more work for you. So by working hard, you're making it easier for the company to find more work for you and keep you busy. All right. Luke or Lewis, you ever work in the Bay Area? Yes. I hate the Bay Area. Uh, Unfortunately, I will wind up back in the Bay Area at some point. Previous statements related. Yeah, the Bay Area, it's small machines, small work, lots and lots of stuff to dig around. Most of the work being done is to renovate or there's not a lot of new construction. There is some, but not a lot. Most of the time, you're ripping out and replacing old lines and installing new ones to make up for bad, cracked, or bad lines that are in the ground. You're just putting in new stuff. Um, and I did it in one day and didn't even work late on that one day. Yeah, well, maybe you can convince your company to give you a paid day off. See how that goes. What they say. Lewis, those pothole truck drivers are part of Local 3. Yes, they are. They are Local 3. Actman. Become efficient on a machine you eventually get stuck on and hate? Yeah. And let me see. It's a lot of machines. I got lucky. Again, like I said, I was lucky enough to be born with a natural talent. I'm actually a fourth generation operator. Um, my great grandfather, great great grandfather, he ran horse drawn blades. And my grandfather, he was a cat skinner on the old cable dozers. And my father ran equipment dozers, and he was more of a carpenter, but he did run heavy equipment. So I'm calling that a fourth generation. I call it that puts me as a fourth generation operator. Uh, Trying to think of what machine I ever ran that actually I got so efficient on that I hated. I love my job. I love what I do. I hate running loader. Scraper is another one I hate running. Those things are horrible for your back. I mean, going 30 miles, 25 to 30 miles an hour and hitting a 3-foot pothole, that's not fun. I don't care how good of a seat it is in that machine. It is not fun. And most of the time, those scraper guys, they're 800 to 1,000 hours a year. And then they sit at home through the winter because they don't run anything else. Ackman, it's if you're good on a machine and you're stuck on a machine, you'll eventually get off of it because what'll happen is you'll just go to the company and say, hey, I'd like to move on from this machine. I'd like to, maybe I can teach someone else to run this because I really want to move up. As long as you express that to your company, it's doing two things. It's showing that you want to pass on your knowledge to someone else and grow the company, and you want to move forward personally and professionally to move up in the company. And companies like that. So that's my recommendation. Talk to the company, talk to the foreman or whatever, say, hey, at what point can I move up? Because, like I said, sometimes it takes years. I ran a loader and doing underground for 4 or 5 years, running backfill and stuff. Eventually got into doing just running a compaction wheel on an excavator with a bucket, just throwing dirt in a hole and wheeling it in. Then from there, did that for a couple of years, then move into digging services, helping digging services behind the main liner. So he didn't have to stop digging main line. And then eventually moved into a digging position on small projects and then bumped into the full scale mainline digger. So, I mean, it probably took me, I don't know, 9 years to become a mainline digger, 9, 10 years. But once you're there, you're there. And if you're good at it, you're stuck as a mainliner and you'll know all the jobs below you. And that's the key. As a mainline guy, you need to know every job on the job. You need to know as much as the foreman knows. You need to be able to read your plans and predict what's going to be in front of you. For me, I walk onto a dry job that hasn't got a hole in it other than potholing. I can look at a street and I can see what it's going to look like before I dig it. I know what I want it to look like, and I know what kind of hole it's supposed to be because the plans tell me what it's supposed to be. So I can visually see it. All I do is I just run the controls and make it look like that. Where am I at? God, you guys started posting again. All right. Yeah, that's me on the skid steer. I've been trying to get people that can run one, and now I'm that guy. I'm only a fan of it, but it's better to be known for something rather than nothing, I guess. Yeah, like I said, man, just give it time. You'll move up. I mean, just keep up the hard work. You'll move up. Lewis, we actually have a foreman from Preston working for Bay Area Tykert right now. Again, Tykert is our nemesis, and I have the crew that I've worked on for the past 8, 9 years all came from Tykert. So we have Tykert guys at Preston, and there's Preston guys at Tykert, and they tend to bounce back and forth sometimes. That's the whole thing with the grass is greener on the other side. One company starts hurting, the other company's doing good. Guys jump ship and go over there. As long as you don't burn the bridge, I guess you're doing okay. I've ran excavator for 5 years. Then the bore machine crew needed someone to run it. I gave it a shot, got good on it, and have been stuck on it for years. Yeah, and again, that's another one of those niche machines. It's kind of like that trencher for me. I don't mind running the trencher. It's hell on the body because if you're going through rock, I ran that trencher through solid rock in Granite Bay, and let's just say we were doing like 2 feet an hour chewing through rock. It sucks. It beats your body up. I talked to a doctor and he says I'm probably pissing blood at the end of the day. So just wear a kidney belt or something, anything to kind of keep the shaking down. One of the things I did is I take the seat and I moved the seat to the side because in the trencher you can do that. And I just stood up in the machine, which took a lot of the vibrations off of my kidneys. All right. So Lewis, mainline, really good. What you do? Yeah, mainline is really where it is at. Hard to make it there. Gotta be good at what you do. Yeah, you do, but you also have to be at the right place at the right time, being the moving into that second hand position. That's the key. Because when the mainline guy gets called off to another job, like I get called off to specialty jobs all the time. The guy that's behind me, he jumps up into my seat, runs my machine while I'm gone, gains that experience, and then when I come back, he moves back down to his machine. And vice versa. Everyone on that job, they move up one seat and they all start doing what needs to be done and they're all gaining experience that way and then it bumps down. Then it's a matter of waiting for me to retire so everyone can permanently bump up. Where are we at? I think we're getting to the end here. Okay, mine main Ryan mainline hoe is what I'm aiming for long term, and one of the superintendents was saying I might be able to get you into either service or backfill next year, so I can get experience around the machine. And that's what it is, dude. You just have to get on those jobs. Once you get on the jobs, you make sure you're talking with all the older guys, the guys that have the experience. Just hang out with them, eat lunch with them. If the guy hangs out in his rig and shuts his doors and doesn't talk to anyone, you can knock on the door and just have a chat with him, see if he'll come down. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. Depends on how hot it is outside. If they sit in their truck, knock on his window, say, "Hey, you mind if I sit with you?" If he says, "Yeah, jump on in," he's more than likely going to tell you some stories of insane things he's done, and hopefully you can learn a few things from those insane things he's done. So it once you get on in on doing that stuff, just pay attention to everything that's going on around you, learn what you're doing first, and then when you get good enough at that, and like I said, year after year after year, you're going to move up. And it takes time. Like I said, it took me 9 years to make lead digger. So, and that was actually relatively quick. And the reason it was quick is because I worked for a small company that was growing and they grew to the point that they needed another mainliner. They bought me my own machine and I ran that machine for 7 years. So, and that's where it's at. Good chatting with you guys. Had to get the bed, everything's good night. Yeah, man, good night, man. Take it easy. I'm not too far behind you. It's only like what 5:20 here, but yeah, I got to go get my dinner and get things set up. So uh, I'm gonna cut it off after Ryan's statement here, and then we're gonna go and I'm gonna go spend some time with the wife. Uh, when we got to put a big project a couple of months ago, I showed up early every day and wouldn't talk with the two loader operators uh, and foremans every morning before work. Did I read that right? I would talk. Okay, I would talk with the two loader operators and foremans every morning before we got going. I have a story to go with that statement. When I was working for Peter Kiewit, we did a huge job up off of Highway 12. It was a Dell Web job building 17 or 18,000 homes and a golf course. I was hired on to run a scraper, which I hate. They were 51s, 651s. So we had two D10s pushing us through Merton Rock. Horrible, horrible experience. I was pretty good at it. One day, one of the superintendents, there were three superintendents on the job. That's how big the project was. We had multiple crews running with 6 to 8 scrapers each crew having 2 or 3 D10s and a D6 for cleanup. So they came out to every crew and says, "Hey, we are running short on survey people. And does anyone know how to do grade setting?" I was like, "Right here, bud, take me off that scraper. I will I will grade set and walk all you want." And at the time it was like in the 90s. And I think the next week it hit the hundreds. I lost 20 pounds of weight in I think 3 weeks. Most of that being water weight. But yeah, but that's how I moved up. But getting to your point, Ryan, every morning once I became a grade setter, they gave me a truck to drive around on the job site because they didn't want me driving my personal vehicle around the job site. So every morning I went into the job trailer, looked at the plans. They handed me plans. I got all my survey equipment, loaded up my truck with all the lath and whatever I needed for the day. And I would just sit there, have a donut. They had donuts in the office. I'd get in, they offered me a donut. Hell yeah. I sit in the corner. Every once in a while they'd ask me questions, how everything was going, what was the progress. And that was huge. And they wound up taking me to another job. And that was awesome because they moved me up. That was actually when I journeyed out. That was the year I journeyed out. I think 98 was the year 97 or 98 I journeyed out. And they took me to another project as a excavator operator running a 10,000, or was it, a 10-ton hammer on a brand new Hitachi 420, breaking rocks the size of a uke. So, I mean, they would drop out one rock out of a dump truck and tell me to break it into 18 to 24-inch rocks so it could go through a crush plant. And so I ran that and the 980 loader that was there. The thing is enormous. I had an 8-yard bucket on it. So I break all the rock down, then scoop it up and dump it into the crush plant. So, all right, guys, that's my time. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for all the chatting. I'll try and have a couple more of these live streams a little more often. Being Sunday's my only day off, I may have a new time. So I just filled Brian's time for today. A few of you guys come from Brian's channel from Diesel and Iron. I think what I may do is I may do a 3 o'clock live stream for like 45 to 50 minutes just before his live stream. And I'll do that. And then we'll all jump over to his stream and watch his stuff, guys. Again, thanks for hanging out. If you guys have anything else, don't forget I have an Instagram account, same name, the Lever Monkey. So go check that out and like that and subscribe, whatever they do over there. Drop me some DMs if you got anything you want me to look at and maybe review for you guys. All right. Thank you again. We'll talk to you all later.